Right, no water bottles at the checkout. That's the claims from a New World supermarket worker who says there's a ban preventing employees from keeping water bottles at checkouts, that staff only have access to water every few hours and only on their breaks. Foodstuffs says their stores are owned and operated individually and that the policy is up to each individual store, basically a will not confirm deny. However, it expects that any policy should be fair and reasonable. Jennifer Mills is an employment law specialist and joins us live. Jennifer, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good to have you on the show. I want to point out that I get water delivered to me every morning, which is very kind, but then they don't let me take toilet breaks here because there's no time, because Australia's very busy. Could I sue?
There's case law out of Australia that says that an employee must be able to access facilities even outside the nominated rest and break time. So potentially you could have an unjustified disadvantage action against your employer. Yes, Ryan.
Interesting.
But the issue here...
I'm just noting that down, Jennifer. Thank you. And I've also been offered a bucket by the team in the control room, which is lovely. Seriously, though, can you, if you're allowing people to have water on their break, is that reasonable, or should they be allowed access to water the whole shift?
So the question is health and safety. An employer's got an obligation to provide a safe and healthy working environment, and there's a specific health and safety regulation, Ryan, of 2016, which expressly says that employers have a duty to provide adequate facilities for workers, including drinking water. And the question in this case is, do employees have reasonable access to drinking water if it's limited to their break times? Our health and safety legislation is based on the Australian model law, and there are two recent cases out of Australia, one of which is a McDonald's case, and the Australian Federal Court said that restricting an employee to access drinking water and facilities only during meal and rest times is unlawful, is a breach of the legislation. And the court went on to say that basic physiological needs like hydration and urination, Ryan, cannot be restricted to rigid break times, describing the denials as having an element of cruelty.
It's hard to argue with that. I mean, when nature calls, right? But what if someone's taking the piss and going to the toilet, having 5 toilet breaks of a shift?
That's a different issue. So the question for an employer there is an employee taking reasonable breaks? Is it genuine? And if it's an attempt to get out of work and spend long periods of time in the facilities, then obviously an employer will be inquiring into that. But this is a different issue where you have staff working shifts restricted from accessing drinking water only to during their nominated meal and break times. And the courts in Australia have said that's unlawful. I would suggest to you that that is the case here also. And as you rightly identified in your introduction, a foodstuff spokesperson has said that they expect their store teams to be fair and reasonable and to look after their teams. And I think that's a signal to the owner-operators that this prohibition needs to be brought to an end.
Hard to argue, I think, Jennifer. Thank you. Jennifer Mills, employment law specialist with us this morning.